So you want a floating bed with lights underneath, like you just levitating off the ground when you go to sleep. All right. Let me show you how to do it. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this floating bed frame with LED lights underneath. Coming up on Word One's How To's. Alright guys, let's get the show on the road. So since I'm doing a queen size bed, I'm going to go off the queen size bed measurements. Now, if you're doing a king size or full size or something like that, then obviously your measurements will change. So in this particular case, this bed frame is going to be 63 inches in width by 80 inches in length as far as my measurements go. Next, I'm going to cut my base, which is going to be 36 inches wide by 57 inches long. It's always a good habit to mark your pieces. That way you don't get confused as to which piece goes where. Believe me, I've made that mistake a dozen times in the past. Next, I put pocket holes in my 57-inch and 80-inch pieces of lumber. The next thing we're going to do is sand everything down. Remember, this is construction grade lumber, so we're not dealing with oak or maple or anything. So we want to sand it down real good, get all the splinters out, make it real nice. Best to do this early on and not later because it creates a lot less mess. So now the frame and the base are cut, sanded, and have pocket holes. Now we can go ahead and start the assembly of them. Remember, before you put your pocket hole screws in, you want to make sure that you use your square. Can't stress that enough. You want your corners to sit as perfect as possible. I cut 3 support beams at 33 inches apiece and installed them with pocket hole screws. Also, I stained the base black. That way it's less visible for somebody that's trying to get that sneak peek of what's underneath this floating bed when the lights are on. I'm a cheapskate, so I don't like to waste material. So what I did was I took the remaining pieces of 2x6 and I cut them down to 9.5 inches a piece, as many as I can cut. Now that the pieces of 2x6 are cut, I went on ahead and laid them out on every other beam and I drilled them in. It's important, every other beam, because you want the weight to be evenly distributed or something like that. So now that I have all those pieces of 2x6 laid out and drilled in, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna do the same thing with these 2x4s. So with the 2x4s, I'm gonna cut those to the same length as I cut these, 9.5 inches. And I'm not gonna make you sit through that whole process. I'm gonna go ahead and knock these out, put those in, but then I'm gonna cut a second set of 2x4s. And those second set of 2x4s, I'm gonna cut those to 8 inches. And you'll see why here in a bit. So remember how we put those 2x6s on every other board? Now the ones that don't have it, we're gonna put the 2x6s in the middle. That way we can have our support boards going across them. That would be the reason for our 8-inch boards. Next, I whipped out the table saw and took 1.5 inches off the 2x6s that are 60 inches in length. The reason for doing this is because the person that I made this bed frame for doesn't have a box spring. So I wanted the mattress to be able to sit inside the frame just a little bit. Okay guys, so here's a part of the video where the simple math comes into play. So basically what we have here is we have our board down there, our base down there, and we just got finished cutting up all of our boards to run across for the foundation. Now, if these boards are 60 inches each, and the base is 36 inches wide, then we have to subtract the base from the foundation board. So you take 60 minus 36, you got 24 inches. So that tells you how to center your board. So basically you're gonna have 12 inches on each side. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna measure out 12 inches from each side and mark and leave a pencil mark. And then that way, once I lay them down on the board, I know they're perfectly squared. This is what I mean, guys. I'm measuring my 12 inches on each side and I'm making my pencil marks. That way I can identify exactly where they're supposed to go. I hope you're enjoying what you're watching. And if so, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm and it gives me the opportunity to be able to put out more content for you guys to see. Also, please be sure to subscribe and tap that bell for notifications. That way you know when I'm posting up new content and you never miss out. What I mean about marking those lines right there. See that there? So remember, you got your 12 inches. You got your 12 inches. And they meet exactly where they should. See, doing it that way makes it easier on you. So you don't have to sit there and keep adjusting it and resetting it and everything else. You just make your lines match, and that's it. Okay, take a good look, guys. Even rewind it and freeze frame this if you have to. Notice that I have the 2x4s and 2x6s in a staggered pattern. That way it evenly holds the weight of the mattress in the box spring that goes on top of it. I also laid out my 60-inch support beams and drilled those into place as well. Next, I applied my stain and I gave it some time to dry. Now, of course, you guys don't have to use a black stain. You can use any color stain you want. You can even spray paint it or even put fabric over it like I did in some of my other projects. Look at that. That's nice. So the lights finally came in, and now it's time to go ahead and put those on the base so that we can get the frame on top. I decided to save myself some heartbreak by putting in the adapter and the antenna first. That way I don't have to worry about it snagging on anything later. I connected the lights to the adapter, making sure to give myself a little bit of play. That way it doesn't snag on anything later. I peeled the tape and started to do the sticky. I bought some plastic LED brackets and some small screws to be able to put them in place to secure the lights. Now, the tape is cool, but eventually dust is going to get inside that adhesive and that tape is going to eventually start to wear off and your lights will fall off. By having these brackets, you prevent that from happening. Your lights are on there and they stay on there. I would love to hear your suggestions on future content in the comments below. Please, by all means, comment below. Let me know what you'd like to see me cover next, and I'll get right on top of it. Now that the lights are in place, it's time to put on the actual frame. I squared my corners, and I remembered to put more pocket holes in place. That way they can hold together real nice, and I don't have to worry about splitting the end grain. Pocket holes, where one likes his pocket holes. Okay, so there's no confusion. I got two 2x4s the length of the edge of the base to the end of the bed frame. That way I've got extra support for the mattress when it goes on top. Also, I only put in pocket hole screws on one end of the two 2x4s because on those ends we don't want the screws to show up from the outside of the bed frame. But on the inside of the bed frame where it meets the base, it doesn't matter. Gotta make sure everything is nice and level. And just so I can have an excuse to say it one more time. Pocket holes! Alright, let's get back to it. So we got ourselves leveled off and now we are good to go. Only thing left is the victory dance. Let's go. You could do what you want. I'ma do my own thing. So here's our finished product. We got lights at the bottom, looks like it's levitating, it's sturdy, it can handle all the weight, and it's so pretty. So hopefully yours came out just as good, if not better. And if not, let me know in the comments and I'll help you out however I can. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys on the next one.